Hello everybody, today I'm going to be sharing a RealSide dream experience from my book Chronicles of a Cosmic Space Case. The PDF link to this book and book 3 of my RealSide experiences are in the links below the description of this video. Dream 27, Dystopian Robot World Part 2. Another mechanically robotic orientated dream now. My real self must be very magnetic in more ways than one, considering the metallic nature of the individuals and scenarios I draw to myself. My adventure would begin amongst a squabbling group of individuals. I'm not sure why they were squabbling, at least initially. It just seemed squabbling was their preferred choice of activity, and they seemed to be doing so at some checkpoint or gateway or other. My impressions would add extra details to the world I was in, adding background information along with what I was able to determine visually. Seemed it was a dystopian mechanical world of a kind. Most of whatever species this was had been mechanized, and the mechanized masses were out of control, rampant, and it surely was mayhem to behold. It would seem that, yes, everything had been robotized, but a few appeared to have a little more control than the others. They were of a less squabbling nature, as though the robotization process had gone awry at some stage and culminated in everybody being deranged, but a few had maintained at least enough of a more socially acceptable way of conduct that they were not a danger to each other. However, these few less afflicted were targeted for destruction by the demented bots. The robots on the run then had organized, located their own, what few of them had survived, and constructed areas of sanctuary, utilizing, it would seem, structures with checkpoints that had been made prior to this descent into robot hell. I could imagine a dystopian world where the controllers, much like today, had erected far greater and a more stringent Orwellian-controlled system, with checkpoints everywhere, a little like, in fact, the dream I had previously recounted, where everybody was robotized, and there were dissidents of the system, with their fake mechanical jaws, as the jaw pieces contained microchips that were scanned at these checkpoints. They had removed these and attempted to instill fake versions to fool the oppressive system, and in fact then I would surmise this to be part 2 of that very dream, except everything has moved along time frame wise. Something had clearly gone very wrong with the robotization then on a grand scale. Maybe a computer virus, as the robots were all linked to a central computer, and as a result the robots now were faulty, and a few wires short of a circuit board, you might say. Of the controllers then there was no sign, but what remained of their control grid and infrastructure remained, yet abandoned and disregarded by the demented robots. So it is these structures, now derelict, that the functioning robots assumed possession of, and reinforcing and bolstering the defences of them, establishing them as safe havens, including a few checkpoints. It is the checkpoints that those of the sane robots on the run from the others would head, as these were, by and large, serving as the entrances to these sanctuaries, So there I am, at this entrance, and yes, I am a robot too, of the less likely to bash your metal head in variety, and fighting through the frothing masses of ill-intended mechanicals. They were hunting the likes of me, yes, but weren't that efficient at it. Very clumsy and awkward in their motion, and I was far smaller and more graceful in my mobility and poise. I ducked, weaved, and jumped my way through the mass of mean metal, and managed to get noticed by the checkpoint guards, and was allowed within. After a brief scan and vetting process to determine my authenticity as one of their own. Inside I go, and it is determined I carry something of value within my circuitry, some information or other. I am attached and wired up to a computer, and my metal forearms alter and mould into a different design, displaying little computer screens with digital information and data. Downloading this, it is revealed I am a carrier of vital information that may assist in the cause of what few of our unafflicted variety of robot remained. Seems this data was gleaned from controller computers just before what I may call the fall of the robots, and it contained information as to how to shut down all the robots, reboot them, and in theory bring an end to all this chaos. It's uncertain what would be our fate, but it was believed the reboot would reset every robot to its original parameters and correct all the flaws that this computer virus had exacted, almost like a precautionary fallback reboot installed by the controllers. They may have recognized the possibility of this scenario, but failed to implement it in time. Maybe they were just in hiding, and this was a deliberate cull of the population. Very inventive a method, if this was so. Regardless, the technology that is linked to all robots must still be active, and this information regarding a fail-safe reboot available, and somehow I had acquired and downloaded it into my database. It, of course, wasn't as easy an undertaking as it seemed. When is it ever? There were several components, circuits and such, we had to secure, and it was with these we would be able to initiate a robot reset. For whatever reason, the circuits were in the keeping of these strange, metallic, monstrous creatures that dwelled deep in catacombs, heavily protected by robot creations who were not individual inhabited, but rather pure autons whose function was to protect these circuits, as if the mighty monsters who had them wasn't enough. I'm uncertain if this was something the controllers set in place, or if it just ended up being this way, but there it was. So we embarked. A team was deployed to escort me to gather these circuits. Our mission: breach the defences, eliminate all opposition, destroy the Guardian robot monsters, and secure the circuits. And then the circuits could be utilized, along with my mechanical body and the data it contained, to activate the reset. So battle commenced. We fought bravely, many of us perishing along the way, the journey arduous, the mission an almost impossibility at times. We had to go through mazes and complexes of tunnels, pass through underwater sections, and acquire keys from still further robots to pass still deeper toward our objective. The robots in possession of these keys, which were like small, greeny yellow, translucent key cards that scanned at the sealed sections and allowed us entrance, these robots were like oversized robot rodents, and put up quite the fight. I also had knowledge innate, or programmed in, of the route we must take, and of the tests and trials along the way, almost like puzzles to solve, that required we do so in particular ways and sequences. As an example, we had to flick a series of switches and levers in the correct sequence, or no further could we trespass, and the means by which we did this was stored in my computer database. I surely was a good robot to have around. We never succeeded in our quest. We failed at a certain section, as one rather forward individual took it upon himself to assume command and the solving of one of these puzzles, despite my having the information at hand. His unwelcome interference and interjection proved costly. Our way remained barred from us, and it appeared we could not make another attempt, at least at this time. This is where the dream would conclude. So, as with part 1 then of this dream, from a month or so ago prior, this is probably the potential future of the human race, or another equally as unfortunate species or dimensional version of Earth, the rigid robotic vehicles, the destiny of a species choosing to agree and be programmed with the demise of the planet, the constricting and limiting state of self-conviction, and made more so in this era of control and awareness constriction. The individual and collective created consciousness continually adding more self-imposed and agreed upon limitation to itself, layers upon layers, and tap lines aplenty. And the effect of all this is far more rigid and frozen vehicles and body forms, the robot form, a reflection of such self-convinced, programmed, and indoctrinated literalism on a mass scale.